What's a song that has brought you to tears? She Used to Be Mine by Sarah Bareilles. A few weeks ago I had a dear friend sit me down and tell me that she remembers the old me, and if I wanted to leave my husband she and my friends were there for me. This song hits a little too close to that nerve. Edit. Thank you for all the replies, well wishes and support. A little overwhelming for me to attract this much attention on Reddit for a comment that isn't a stupid joke, but I appreciate it all the same. Nothing's really black and white in life, and people are usually more complicated than victim and villain. But I am aware of how I want to lead my life going forward and what steps I'll take to get there. The old me woke up and is getting ready to grab the wheel, metaphorically. Thanks again. You're good people. So I had a friend do that. Best friend I ever had, and truly changed my life. Said she loved me but couldn't be my friend anymore and watched me be abused. I left that day. She died a few years ago suddenly, and I never got to tell her just what she did for me. Edit. Thanks everyone for the hugs and awards, are really kind words. Sometimes I get sad as we won't grow old together. Friends are sometimes more than we realize at the time. Remember me. Watching Coco a month after my grandma died was a bad idea, and that remember me at the end was my breaking point. Oh God, the part where Coco and Miguel sing. My spouse was bawling in the theater. I was a bit better, but still, there are tears. So my mom passed February or the year that came out. My Mill was diagnosed with cancer July of the year that came out and passed in November. My grandfather passed that May, and my spouse's grandmother, who helped raise them, was having bad memory issues. She ended up passing May of the following year. Let's just say we were not in the right place to see Coco. We owned a movie and still can't get more than 20 minutes in before we go nope. Not ready for this. The band played Waltzing Matilda. I'm partial to the Pogues version, and saw Now every April. I sit on me porch, and I watch the parade pass before me, and I see my old comrades, how proudly they march, reviving old dreams of past glories, and the old men march slowly, old bones stiff and sore, they're tired old heroes from a forgotten war, and the young people ask what are they marching for, and I ask myself the same question. But the band plays Waltzing Matilda and the old men still answer the call, but as year follows year, more old men disappear. Someday no one will march there at all. Waltzing Matilda, Waltzing Matilda. Who will come a waltzing Matilda with me? And their ghosts may be heard as they march by that billabong. Who will come a waltzing Matilda with me? Cats in the Cradle. Edit. I typed the song title last night before going to bed and on my phone, so I didn't really elaborate. Seeing all your stories below made me want to tell a bit of why I think this is a tearjerker song. Grew up in upper lower class family, if that's a thing. Dad worked on the land as a nurseryman, tree farming, for his cousin during the week and on his own property on the weekends. I have fond memories of that time, even though things were tough and we rarely had any of the good stuff. Mom started working at the local Walmart during late elementary school and through middle school and high school. I moved away after high school and went to college, got married and a degree, and proceeded to move another 6 hours from Dad. Mom divorced Dad after I got married. I stayed in as much touch as I thought reasonable, calling weekly and visiting when we could, though now, I feel I wasn't as in touch as I should have been. I've lived in another state for 20 years and had 6 children. 2 years ago, Dad fell at his house and was rushed from hospital to hospital and was dead within a month of some pretty severe underlying conditions he never told anyone about. Why this song? Growing up we had an old record player and a double album called Storytellers. I loved listening to the songs on those records and still love most of those songs. But that song haunts me, oddly, ever since Ugly Kid Joe did a cover of it several years back, which I think is an awesome cover. BTW. I hear it more than I used to. I can usually make it most of the way through the song, but at some point, I just start tearing up real bad. Doing it now, just typing this. I miss my dad and have 6 children. I am trying my best to be a good father to so they feel loved. Puff the Magic Dragon. Poor Puff is always by Johnny's side, then Johnny grows up and ditches Puff. What an asshole. Edit. It should say Jackie, not Johnny. That was my answer. I remember paying no mind to it until I decided to actually listen to it when I was right at that age where you are transitioning from playing make-believe and running around playing army with your friends and actually playing with your action figures. The worst is that Johnny didn't just stop visiting Puff, if I remember right. It was that his visits became less and less frequent until one day he stops showing up. And because of that, Puff started aging. Just thinking about it is rough to me. When She Loved Me, Sarah McLachlan. I know, I'm a Toy Story kid, and the first time I saw that movie was at a very pivotal moment in my life. Right about when my mom suddenly decided I wasn't allowed to be a baby anymore, which apparently meant going into my room one drunken afternoon and throwing every stuffed animal, glittery shirt, and nearly every book into a hefty bag while ranting, though my hysterical screaming, about how I wasn't a baby anymore. I was 10. She apparently decided I was going to be an adult the very next day. According to my baby sister, she only remembers that scene because I scared her by having a complete breakdown that ended in her going to her room to fetch this big stuffed octopus baby toy that made a different noise as you squeezed each leg, and a packet of tissues from her backpack as I rocked on the couch. I don't remember anything except for hugging her toy, and my whole body just ached, though, apparently, Mom just threw those bags up in the attic to teach me a lesson and completely forgot about them, because we found them a few years later, and she just goes, "Oh yeah, I forgot about those. Suppose we ought to just donate it. I mean, oh, there's no way your fat ass could fit into any of those shirts." So I managed to steal back a treasured few of my favorite animals. I don't care about the legal ramifications in a couple of decades when the authorities find her living in a homeless community and trace that back to decades of angry posts. I will not take care of that witch when she can no longer take care of herself. Maybe we'll get lucky and I'll find a state-run institution to abandon her at. I hate her. Friend of a Friend by Foo Fighters. This song was written by Dave Grohl and it's about Kurt Cobain, before his sect. It's so sad to listen to Dave's words as he watched Kurt's behavior and how he was obviously struggling, but Dave and Chris didn't know back then. The line that always gets me teary-eyed is, he thinks he drinks too much, cause when he tells his two best friends, "I think I drink too much," no one speaks. No one speaks. This song is just so emotional. Edit 1, correction. Edit 2, the song was written before he died, so I edited it a bit. It's still so haunting to listen to, knowing what we know now about how much Kurt was struggling with mental illness. Gonna sound a little stupid, but Blood by My Chemical Romance. My dad died of cancer a little after the album came out, and my mom and I used to listen to it together. One day, we were chatting, and the Blood being the hidden soundtrack and the first few minutes of it being silence, finally started. We had never heard it before and both started crying and laughing. Sounded just like something my dad would say while he was going through cancer treatment. The doctors and the nurses, they adore me so, but it's really quite alarming cause I'm such an awful fuck. The song Cancer made us cry too the first time, but Blood just hit in a different and funnier way. You're Gone and I Gotta Stay High ... all the time came out when my best friend left me for another woman. Our sexual relationship had passed its course and we had worked back to being just platonic best friends. Years of sleepovers, traveling across the country, across the world, texting every single day, late-night car talks, all of it felt like a marriage. And then she started going out with a manager I introduced her to at a job I helped her get. My existence snapped out of her life just like that. It absolutely ruined me. Then I hear this freaking song on the radio and it just broke me. All the weed in the world wasn't loud enough to drown out my feelings. I was smoking and driving every moment I was off work. Every place I passed was somewhere we had made memories in. I literally moved across the country to get away from the memories, from what I lost. This song was like a mirror, showing me how pathetic I was, how weak I was for using drugs to escape the pain. I felt like an episode of Intervention. Now I smoke weed, BC, it feels good, lol. Circus Left Town by Eric Clapton. It's a song about his 4-year-old son's death and the last memories he has of him. As sad as Tears in Heaven, and was recorded on the same 1992 Unplugged album. However, apparently Clapton was unhappy with the levels on the bass or some technical issue, and chose to omit it from the album. As such, it's been heard by far fewer fans and listeners. It's absolutely heartbreaking. Here it is. Edit. The reason this song hits home is that, on a personal note, the first woman I loved died very young, and very soon after I'd briefly reconnected with her after years apart, thinking I'd lost touch with her forever. I was so happy, and we picked up just where we'd left off. I thought we'd have a chance. On the night she died, I was supposed to be with her, and changed plans at the last minute to see a friend who was in town, which was a rare occasion. Thought I'd see her the next day. Turns out some scumbag she thought was a friend drugged her and took compromising photos of her while her body was basically shutting down. Then he disappeared. Her mom was the property manager at her apartment and found her the next morning, blue. I obviously wouldn't have let an inkling of this happen if I were there. I was a pallbearer at her funeral. I fucking hate myself to this day about it. So big, so small. From Dear Evan Hansen. My parents divorced when me and my sister were pretty young, and my mom ended up being the main backbone of the family. She's supported us so much so that song gives me some kind of pain. It's Quiet Uptown from Hamilton. Dealing with grief always gives me feels because I'm terrified of the concept of death. I've tried putting myself through every possible scenario where a family member or friend dies because I wouldn't be able to handle it if I didn't. This is Gospel by Panic at the Disco. I know there's a whole different message to the song, since it's part of the trilogy where Brendan reforms the band's title after everyone else left, but I struggle with so much suicidal feelings and ideation that hearing "If You Love Me Let Me Go" just kind of shatters me inside. The only reason I haven't attempted is because of my family. Many of them that are tied to memories and a few that just hit me in the feels. Shine Down's acoustic impromptu version of Simple Man, sung at a party, video on YouTube. When Kelly Clarkson sang Piece by Piece live on American Idol. The raw emotion as she was singing and the fact she became emotional herself. Also because my best friend could relate to it as he was raising a daughter that wasn't his. And The Road by Boys II Men because it's a beautiful song. Whitney Houston's version of I Will Always Love You, again because it's a beautiful song. Also, my mom loved that song when I was a kid and she passed away in 19 and it takes me back. Elvira by the Oak Ridge Boys. First heard it while I was a kid and on a road trip with my dad. He passed away in February. Makes me miss him. No Matter What by Callum Scott, because it hits home with me when I came out. Candle in the Wind by Elton John, Princess Diana version. Stairway to Heaven that was performed by Heart, video on YouTube. Forever by Kiss. One of my closest friends and his wife's song. She was recently killed in a head-on crash driving home from Panama City. Make good choices. Greed, One Last Breath. Alter Bridge, Blackbird, In Loving Memory, Watch Over You, Wonderful Life. Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. Time. Five Finger Death Punch, Remember Everything, Gone Away, Wrong Side of Heaven. Audio Slave, Like a Stone. I will always listen to these songs, because they helped me when I needed help the most. Whenever I felt lonely and not loved, I just used to listen to them and sometimes I got to cry myself to sleep. Today I've got a wonderful girlfriend who has been an angel in my life. Today we are completing 1 year and 4 months, and guys, that's not all. We're having a baby and I couldn't be happier. I know today's condition in the world is not the best, but I will try everything I can to protect her ass. I can see my future being very good. No one asked for this but I'm commenting anyway. I'm terminally ill, 6 months to live, yay cancer, and I've got a playlist that my husband has saved for when I die. Here's the songs that I chose: Skinny Live, Bon Iver Closer, The Chainsmokers Visiting Hours, Ed Sheeran Tears in Heaven, Eric Clapton Never Going Back Again, Fleetwood Mac Lucky Now, Big Scary Nominal, Number 1 Dad's Airplanes, Local Native 7 Years, Lucas Graham Homecoming, Kanye West Missed Calls, Mac Miller I Love You Always, Betty Who Lover, Sonia on 1955, Hilltop Hood is the Get Up, Blanca Brown Confidence, Ocean Alley Zillionaire, Now Feelin' Groovy, Simon and Garfunkel Down the River, The Modern Post Kiss from a Rose, Seal Eyes on Fire, Blue Foundation 29 Stafford APTS, Bon Iver We Might Be Dead Tomorrow, Soko Is This Love, Mantra Matra Remix, Bob Marley Wolf Like Me, TV on the Radio. Death Cab for Cutie, Passenger Seat, my favorite song, and it has always been able to take me back to when I was a kid driving through the Rockies with my mom late at night. It hits me very hard and makes me cry if I am in the mood to cry. It means a lot to me. Amigo the Devil, Another Man's Grave, acoustic, along with his song Cocaine and Abel both make me cry. I discovered him during COVID and he really makes great music. Taller Childers, Follow You to Vergi, I have cried to that song. I am not a big crier but it was after losing my dad so it was just a trigger. Bonnie Prince Billy, I Called You Back, this song is just super sad and I love it. It has made me cry many times. I always heard it as a song about someone who had a partner that passed on. That is just what I have always heard in it. John Moreland, Cherokee, this song has made me cry once or twice. It really strikes at loss for me. The song my fiancé wrote for me. We had just gotten engaged so he planned a date to celebrate the weekend after and surprised me by bringing out his guitar and playing this song for me in a beautiful little park. The lyrics was about remembering our beautiful proposal, and also made reference to our little inside jokes and memories that make our relationship so special. He is a super talented musician, but struggles with writing lyrics, so I was so touched when he told me that this was the first song he has ever completely finished writing, and that it was thanks to our love that he had the inspiration to do it. It was genuinely the sweetest, most thoughtful thing that has ever happened to me. Angry Johnny and the Radio by the Gaslight Anthem. The Naves Ink Banks also makes me pull my eyes out. Honestly, the whole album hits me hard. Sink or Swim holds such a special place in my soul and I can't recommend it enough. Fallon's wounded yet hopeful lyricism is beautifully coupled with upbeat minor chords and an Americana, pop-punk, blues sound that creates a deep, resounding feeling of forlorn nostalgia for times that I never experienced. I don't know if anyone understands what I mean, but that's the feeling that I look for in songwriting. I've seen a lot of songs on here that I feel heavy as well, and I hope everyone that came here because they love sad songs knows how strong they are for having a soft heart in such a cruel world. Stay hungry, stay free, and do the best that you can. There are a few that get me every time. Details in the Fabric by Jason Mraz and James Morrison. Just a beautiful song. When Your Mind's Made Up from the Once soundtrack. Watching that scene gets me every time. Just the raw talent and artistry on display, coupled with the song being so powerful. Fix You by Coldplay. I'm Not Made of Stone. It used to be Hear You Me by Jimmy Eat World, but I've both heard it too many times and have maybe grown out of it a little. Not to besmirch the song, I love Jimmy. That particular one is just not so much to my tastes anymore. Say Something by A Great Big World. When I was in junior high I watched the music video to it, and there's a part where there's an elderly woman laying in a hospital bed dying and her husband is laying next to her sobbing. That hit me really hard because I still have all 4 of my grandparents that I'm close to and I can't stand the idea of losing any of them. It got to the point where I would hear the opening piano chords and start bawling immediately. Pretty cliché, but I Will Follow You Into the Dark by Death Cab for Cutie was the first time I'd ever cried trying to learn a piece of music. I knew and liked the song, but when I sat down with my guitar to play the chords and sing it at the same time, I only made it through half. That's when I realized the power music had over me compared to other forms of media. After that it was, as another commenter said, You Got a Friend in Me by Randy Newman. I grew up on Toy Story, loved that shit, but when Randy Newman got on the piano, saw him live my sophomore year of HS in my hometown 10 minutes from my house, and started singing, it was like my whole childhood was hitting me like a Mack truck for 3-4 minutes. More recently, it was Acid Tongue by Jenny Lewis, another song, and Albin. I heard a lot growing up, but in the 12 years since I first heard it, the meaning changed so much. I decided, for once, not to skip it when it came on my playlist and hear it with a fresh set of ears. And I'm so glad I did. Just the increase in life experience from 9 years old to 21 had me feeling and understanding some of these lyrics that were previously words attached to a melody.